Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining this webinar. My name is Guillermo Romaggio, co-founder of Baking Clouds. Our organization offers IT professional services, and we are based in Auckland, New Zealand. To know more about us, visit our website, bakingclouds.com. Today, we bring you a webinar about ransomware by ethical hacker Leonardo Oroná. We invite you to share your questions in the chat during the presentation. And after the presentation, we will do a Q&A session answering everything we can around ransomware. To get a follow-up call and discuss how we can help your organization, fill a contact form in Baking Clouds, and also you can drop us a message in the chat to engage with us. Now I will pass the presentation to Leonardo to run this webinar. Thanks for joining.
Okay, thank you, Guille. Hello, everybody. How are you? Well, first of all, let me give thank you to Alicia and Guille for being here. I hope you enjoyed the presentation. Well, I am Leonardo Oroná. I'm senior, actually holding a position as senior ethical hacker at Globant. I have many years of experience related to IT and cybersecurity services. I've worked for government entities, national and international companies. I served as a speaker at different security events like the Corridor Hackerspace, and I love security, pen testing, and everything that is related to ethical hacking. We are going to talk about a little bit about ransomware, some cyber attacks, cyber crime, who are the threat actors, the APTs, and at least we are going to, at the end, we are going to see a real-time attack on an Exchange server through the web access, and it is an attack which is being performed right now and every day on all companies all around the world. And the thing is that sometimes people don't know about it, but basically after the intention after this webinar is that you can perform it by your own, I mean, or on an ethical manner, let's say, right? So the first question is, are we under attack? And the answer is yes, constantly. And let me show you a video regarding it. It is a real life scenario. So
how did you decide to become a hacker?
Well, I'm not really sure what it means to become a hacker. That's like some guy in a hoodie who types really fast and stays up all night writing code and cracking passwords. It's not me. I just spy on people and see what makes them click. It's not a bad job.
Mark Hanning, CEO of Qualicart, set to report earnings after their blockbuster IP.
So you consider this a job?
I put a lot of work into this. I'm not lazy. It takes research to figure out the key players, learn all about them, their families, their friends, what they care about. You have to understand the company's organization. I get a lot of my information from the sales department because they're always so quick and eager. They're hungry. People trust too easily. They don't look at the details. I do. Details matter. That's what I'm good at. It has to look completely believable. It has to look familiar. This is where research is important. It's not some generic piece of spam. It's an email from their boss with their company's signature. It's written in the voice of the boss. It's what he would say if he were writing this.
What about the malware itself? How does that work?
Somebody else out there already wrote all the code that does the actual attack. I'm just using it in the attachment. My skill is in my ability to get a bunch of people to click on that attachment. I always wonder what it's like when the whole thing unfolds on their end. when the panic sets in.
Please leave your message after the beep.
Hey, this is Rajiv in finance. Call me as soon as you get this. Something's up with my laptop.
Katie, are you on your way into the office? Something's going on with our file servers.
Karen in HR, our benefits dashboard seems really slow. We're getting calls from users on it. Can you call when you get this? Joining conference now.
Apparently, there's a malware attack targeting our main...
It's ransomware. They're holding us hostage.
We're locked out of everything. I can't even check my phone. What about the backup?
That will take days.
We need this fixed now. Pay it. We don't have a choice. We're reporting earnings in 2 hours.
But how do we know that they'll...
Pay it. Put every single person on getting us back up and running. That's the only priority now.
Okay, it's done.
I have the decrypt key. Mark, we have a big problem. The ransomware was just to distract us. They got inside. They got everything. Customer data, financials, everything.
Qualicards is reeling today from the news that hackers have released the personal information of nearly
The
2
Nasdaq
million
closed
customers.
lower today, led by Qualicard, which was down 14% on news that their recent data breach may be far worse than the company
Its stock
originally
fell to a new all-time low on news that CEO Mark Hanning is stepping down after what is turning out to be one of the worst breaches of personal information in recent history.
Do you feel bad about releasing the personal information? All the financials? All the money that was lost?
All I did was get the files. I'm not the one that decided to release them. I'm not the one that shorted the stock. Somebody else had their reasons for that. It's above my pay grade. I was paid to do a job, and I did it well. And that's what's expected of anyone, isn't it? Anyway, markets bounce back.
Well, this is basically what happens all the time. You have to know that these type of services are hired on the internet. Companies, the company in front of you, in front of your company, they get the competency, the competence used to acquire and pay for this such services, right? And let me talk a little about ransomware. And how can I hide this? 1 second. Well, ransomware is, since the WannaCry, a lot of attacks around the world. The WannaCry, then it came the Petya, Ryuk, Grand Crab, and they are every time more sophisticated. The code inside the ransomware is better every time, and they see it like a job, because it's a highly profitable. The payment in ransomware, the profits, I mean, are higher sometimes than international drug traffic. I was doing some research, and I found some attacks during the 2021, I'm sorry, this year, and Australia, and I think everybody knows about the US fuel pipeline that they had to pay 5 million in ransom to the hackers. And it is not only the money you have to invest in paying them, it is the prestige of the company, the image loss of face, and of course, as we saw in the video, the stock decrease. And I found New Zealand Central Bank suffered a security breach. They were able to compromise data that included commercially personally identifiable information, and also the Australian Cybersecurity Centre reported in September they received more than 500 ransomware cybercrime reports in 2021, which is an increase of 15%. And this one, the Western Australian Parliament data breach, called my attention because a mail server was accessed after a Microsoft Exchange server vulnerability, which was the proxy logon. They compromised the Exchange server and were able to hack into the organization. They abused the proxy logon, and more than 30,000 companies around the world were hacked because of this zero-day vulnerability. Then we have F5. F5 is networking devices. You know, load balancer, application delivery controllers, and stuff like that. It is a hardware which is used by many companies around the world. 48 of the Fortune 50 companies use their products, and it's an expensive product. And it was in 2020 new vulnerability, which is a RCA vulnerability, which it means that it is a remote code execution, because when you have a remote code execution vulnerability 0-day, it means that basically anyone from the internet can hack into your device. That was very critical. And if you go to this website, zoomeye.org, for example, it is like a Shodan's website. It's a website that scans the internet all the time. And if you search for this tag CVE, which is the vulnerability of the F5, you will see that 64 devices are still vulnerable and connected to the internet. Then we have the case of secure VPN, pool secure VPN. At least 5 US federal agencies experienced cyber attacks that the threat actors discovered a vulnerability on pool secure VPN, and they were able to hack several organizations all around the world. Then we have the exchange remote code execution, the proxy logon, which was very critical. It was a 0-day vulnerability that the attackers took advantage all over the world, and basically it hacked several companies everywhere. They use several 0-day exploits. There were 4. The first one was to gain easy access, then to escalate privileges, and basically they were able to, if you find all the web access policy to the internet, they were able to modify the URL path of the web access and inject code into the URL and log in into the server itself, as is where the Exchange server itself, right? Then we have, I would like to talk a little bit about cybercrime before and now. And, before you had virus like Sasser Blaster that were not very critical, didn't do much harm. They used to block Active Directory accounts and things like that, or pop-ups in the screen. If you suffer from those viruses, you were able to restore from backup. But now the things are very different. You have these APTs, which are the advanced persistent threat groups, which are working at nation or country level. They are sponsorized, organized group, highly targeted, highly skilled, and they have plenty of time, because the cyber criminals share a couple of things they have a couple of things in common. They have time, patience, knowledge, and motivation. They perform data encryption on your environment, and if you don't pay the ransomware, they exfiltrate your data and publish it to the internet. And the data recovery is mostly impossible because they do a recognition. The ransomware itself does a recognition on the environment and also encrypts the backup, so you won't be able to restore from backup. And basically, I've been in touch with several companies that they had to rebuild the Active Directory because it was the only way. And of course, the security breach incident is published online. Then what I have here is a diagram which is similar to every company around the world. I mean, every company more or less have the same devices on the infrastructure. Yeah, the companies have an F5, a Citrix, Exchange, ANOVA, Pool Secure VPN. Well, of course, I use myself to connect to the work. ETS, IPS, and everything, every single device that is composed of an infrastructure. Yeah. But the thing is that the cyber criminals are bypassing these expensive products like F5, Exchange, or Pool Secure VPN, etc., because every day, at least for this year, several vulnerabilities appeared on these several products, and you reach a vulnerable stage. If you have a if you have antivirus, you have firewalls, IPS, but you have a 0-day in Citrix, a 0-day in OWA, a 0-day in PulseSecure, basically it's a game over. So what I want to talk about is the Active Directory, because once they bypass these products which are published to the internet, what is left behind those what is the next link in the chain? The Active Directory. And I'm sorry for you to hear this. I must tell you, the Active Directory is legacy. It is a product that was not prepared, was not thought from the security perspective. If you remember, from Windows NT in 2000, you were able to log in with an administrator without password. And for the year 1996, Microsoft released the Exchange Server 4.0. And if you remember, the Active Directory users and computers came from the Exchange GUI, because nowadays the way you manage the OUs and the users and groups came from the Exchange Server 4.0, and the way they manages the mailboxes. It is Active Directory. It's a system that basically it allows the privilege escalation, it allows password stealing, lateral movement, lack of patching. Sometimes you go into an environment, there's lack of patching everywhere, and once you go into the Active Directory, to make things worse, vulnerabilities like zero logon, blue keep, and print namer appear all the time. This year, the zero logon was terrible all around the world, and basically these things allow the attackers to be domain admin in just a couple of minutes. So basically, the cyber criminals are bypassing all these products, and the main idea is to get to the Active Directory, exchange, get privileges, escalated privileges to the main admin, and when then they have all the privileges, they are in the position of raise a startup malware campaign, right? The main thing here is they enter and they want your servers, they want your data, encrypt everything. So I have a phishing demo here. Let me show you. I have two virtual machines here. My virtual machine on the left is a domain controller. My virtual machine on the right is an Exchange Server 2013, totally functional. I have one mailbox here from Leonardo. I have another mailbox here from Sofia. And this is the Exchange admin console, the admin center. And here I have a file. So the phishing starts with a mail, and within a mail there's an attachment. The user receives the mail, downloads the file or clicks the file. I have an Excel file here, and basically the user goes and clicks the button. It is an expense sheet. He clicks the button, and did you see a blue screen appear and disappear? Well, that was a PowerShell window. So let me close this, and I will show you what is behind this stage. Let me open it again. And as you can see on the screen, the pointer of the mouse is changed because there is a button in front of it, because the user may not click the button, but they click here, let's suppose, and the ransomware or the payload executes again, because there's a whole button in behind. I mean, so let me close it again, and I will show you. With this type of methodology, the cyber criminals get a high rate success of execution, because let me close this and this. I will do a right click instead of a left click, and you can see here I can move it And what it is an image. It is an image or a screenshot taken to from an Excel expense sheet, and then I simply put it here. But the thing is, you can click everywhere on the screen that it will execute, no matter what. And let me show you now what is behind what is the code behind this phishing mail. Let's go. I'm sorry for my Excel being in Spanish. Let's go to view macros, see macros, and modify macro. This is a very simple execution script. It raises PowerShell and basically creates a .NET object on the background. Basically, it creates a web server by command line, and then it sends a request to this IP address, which is the command and control or the attacker IP address. In this case, it is my local IP. It's a Kali Linux VM, and when you click, the user clicks on the image. I will get into the user's computer by a remote session, right? Then what I did next was to upload this file to the virus total. I scanned, and the result was that 31 antivirus recognized it as a malicious, right? I mean, this is like only a proof of concept, but believe me that what they do is to scan the file and reach 0. That's the main idea. So that once you reach 0, that means that you bypassed all the antivirus and you are able to send the file everywhere and nobody will detect it, right? And then for this year too, these are the new tendencies of obfuscation in Morse code. I like it because it was a sophisticated attack, and you can see how they think about it, right? They hit URLs in Morse code and perform credential stealing. The user receives a mail. In the mail, there's an attachment, which is an HTML file. And the HTML file contains Morse code and a couple of functions that allows the virus or ransomware to call other functions in Morse code, and the decode and encoding is being done in real time. So I think that's amazing. That's amazing how they think, right? How they think to bypass the antivirus. The purpose of it is to show here this screen pop up to the user, so the user will enter their credentials, and they send the credential itself to themselves, right? So this pop-up is trustable to the user, because when you sometimes lose connectivity with your Outlook, it will ask you for your credential, and that's fine. So they use the same libraries in Windows to perform this, and the user is trustable of this pop-up. Simply will enter credentials and they will steal your credentials. So the main thing, what I want you to think here is, how do you tell to your antivirus, okay, my friend, you're my friend, antivirus. I will receive a mail. The mail has Morse code, and please detect it. There's no way. There's no way. So this means that they are improving all the time, right? Then I would like to talk a little bit more about cybercriminals. We said they have time, patience, motivation. They have knowledge, high skill, and on the right, I get this from my LinkedIn the other day. This is from the movie of Liam Neeson, and this is when you go to a job interview. No, I do not currently hold any certifications, but what I do possess are a particular set of skills. And one of the guys, Edward, says, the people breaching your organization that doesn't have any certification either. So I mean, it's very correct. Let me tell you about a profession that the unemployment rate is 0%. It is paid 3 more times than a normal salary. It is a job with the highest demand in the world. What do you think? Can you think of financial manager, pharmacist, lawyer? No, it is cybersecurity expert or ethical hacker. It is highly demanded all over the world. And why? Why is the reason for that? Because the cyber attacks are growing all the time. Cyber attacks outnumber cyber criminals, outnumber us, and during the pandemic, every time there are more and more and more than we are, more than us, that we are the security guys, right? So I want to talk about an anatomy of a cyber attack, and what we are going to do is we are going to do some recognition. We are going to use a couple of tools which are online, published to the internet, publicly available. You can use it at home. Shodan is a website. Sumai, we are going to use FOCA, DNS Dumpster. And then we are going to search for an OLU web access, and we are performing a password spraying attack on the OLU web access. And finally, we are going into VPN and get into the company or the local LAN, right? First of all, let's go into Shodan. If you didn't know about Shodan, it's a website that scans the internet all the time. You go into Shodan, you will find out everything that is connected to the internet worldwide, IoT devices, servers, and everything that you think that has a connection, Shodan will show you. And I use, for example, this tag port 3389 in the country Australia, and it will show me that the 37,000 devices are open to the internet. That means that several workstation servers had this port open and open to the internet. So if you go to the RDP IMS TSS and you put this IP address, you will be presented with a login screen because the port is open on the other side, right? So with this tool, they perform recognition. There's no need sometimes to do let's say the dirty job for ourselves, because I don't have the need to raise an Nmap scan from my PC, because I mean Shodan does for us. So go and take a look at Shodan and see what you can find out. Zomai is another website, very popular. It's like Shodan and shows some results about devices connected to the internet. For example, I did a simple search, a webcam, country Australia, and it showed me that 45 million webcams are connected to the internet. And let me tell you that those webcams, several of them have are not protected with user login and password, and you can enter and watch the webcam. Several of them are protected with user and password, but several, trust me, several of them have vulnerabilities. And then you can throw Python script from your house and bypass the login screen, and finally you will be able to see the webcam anyway. So FOCA is a very good software. It is the Telefonica guys did it. It's very good for recognition, because one of the functionalities, it does several things, but one of the functionalities I like about FOCA is that you send it a URL, a domain, and it will search all type of files in that domain and will download it, right? The thing is that there are files, websites that are so big, and there are files that are there in the website but are not intended to be downloaded, but FOCA will download for you anyways. So the next step is after you download the files, you go for the metadata information. Basically, what is metadata is metadata is information embedded on the file itself. Here on the left, I have a photograph that I took with my Android phone, and if you go to the settings of the file, to the details of the file, you will find this information: date, size of the photo, the Google Map, the location, the coordinates where the photo was taken, and very, very much information about the file, the image file. So what it is, it is metadata. On the right, I have properties of a file of this presentation, this PPT properties presentation, and here you will have information about who is the author, when it was saved, the size of the file, etc. And several times you will find information about the domain user and their domain name who saved the file. So what you will find there is a domain name, let's say bakingclouds.com/ some account name of the Active Directory user account that saved the file. So I think you know now where we are going to, right? So in this example, I hid the domain. This is not the real domain. This is only a test. I downloaded PDF file from the Australian, but was not a real test. This is a real test on a pen test I performed last month, and I hid the domain name. So the result is here. You can see the amount of files that Foca downloaded: 9 Word documents, 70 PDF files, and 65 Excel files. And then you have here, you go for extract all metadata from those files and analyze it, analyze for me. And then what with Foca will show you, it will show you that it found 52 users. Several of them are from a real domain, some account names from Active Directory. It will show you folders and folder names of the server, of the paths, FQDNs and IP addresses where the PDF file was stored. You will get, in this case, we got 0 emails, but sometimes you will get hundreds of email addresses. And if you have hundreds of email addresses, you have the same account name of the Active Directory. The operating system, well, I have one here, but in several cases you will find several servers, server name, passwords, and workstations, PC names, etc. Right? All from the domain you're investigating. And next, what are you going to do with that metadata extraction? Because why it is important to the cyber criminals? Because once you get that metadata, you get some account names, and they will be easy for them to identify domain name users nomenclature, right? And when we are talking about users nomenclature, we are talking about the ID account. So for example, I have this user, Emily Bronte, and I have a couple, let's say you are able to grab 2 or 3, let's say 2 or 3 some account names, and the rest you will get 200 name and surname, but you will be able to identify the AD nomenclature. So I have this user, so I will build my proper word list of names of some account names, right? So Emily Bronte will turn into E.Bronte or Bronte.e or E.Bronte, and do the combinations. It is done in a couple of minutes with automated PowerShell scripts, and they will create an Active Directory word list or with some account name, right? Now I have an example on the right. We're going to see it later with some mathematics, interesting data. The next step is DNS Dumpster. DNS Dumpster is a website that you go into the website, type the domain name and go for search, and it will scan and show the subdomains of the main domain. So this is iReal because the Australian doesn't have this in red, but this is in representation of which you are going to find into DNS Dumpster. So you will find Autodiscover, VPN, Cisco, Mail, Citrix, RDP, Terminal Service, and from that answer, from that little report, I know that if you have Autodiscover, you have an Exchange server, you have a Outlook Web Access published to the internet. If you have VPN or Cisco, you may have AnyConnect, you may have Pool Secure VPN. If you have Pool Secure VPN and it is not patched, I will use the 0-day RCA, and I will get into your organization. And you may have a Citrix application published to the Internet Terminal Service, or RTP from Terminal Services application from Microsoft published to the Internet. Those kind of services will be fine with this tool, which is a DNS Dumpster. Next to it, the attackers, what they are going to do, they are look for more services published to the internet, like Office 365 and all the web access. And once they will find once they find the ANOVA, they will attack it. I have here, let me open my, okay, I went into the Shodan and I told Shodan, okay, use these 3 tags on the right and search for me in Australia, exchange 2007, 2010, 2013, and 2016. And the result is this: for the exchange server 2007, there are 11 connected to the internet. And if you go for the exchange 2010, there are 3. Some of them might be vulnerable to the proxy logon. If you click in one of the links, it will show you on the left the ports that are open on this particular public IP. It will show you the information about the port, certificate, and a lot of stuff. And on the left, you will see here the vulnerabilities that this public IP have. So let me see about this one. It is an exchange server with Windows 2 2012. And basically the attackers will take this TV and will go into the exploitdb.com. Exploitdb.com is a publicly internet website full of exploits in every programming language that you can think of. And basically you search for the vulnerabilities. Well, we were not lucky this time, but if it was proxy logon instead of this one, we are able to attack it, right? So that's how they perform this type of attacks. So we talk about Exchange 2010, 2007, and for the 2013, 2016, there are more than 5,000 devices connected to the internet in Australia. So this is part of the reconnection stage. And what they are going to do next is to perform a password spraying attack on your OWA. So they will find user and password. They will use the same account names that they grabbed from the FOCA, and they will get valid user and passwords. And once they get passwords, they will read some mails and try to find more passwords. They will be able to see all the mails of the users, and then they are going to reach into your VPN, because one thing that OWA and VPN have in common is the Active Directory. I mean, both of them are services attached to the Active Directory. So that's the reason for the password spraying attack. So what have we done so far? We used external tools. Every information is published on the internet, publicly available. No need to perform scan by ourselves. I mean, all scans are pretty much done. Half of the job is already done. So if you look it from the cyber criminal perspective, it is just go grab and attack. Easy as that. So what are we going to do now is perform an all the web access password spray attack without locking users, of course. You will see that this attack is being performed right now on every organization around the world all the time, believe it or not. Maybe you don't know because you don't have the visibility of it. We're going to see later the log and monitoring and why you don't know what is happening behind this stage, right? But believe me that this type of attack is being performed on every organization all the time around the world. It is a passive attack because you are not locking anything, and the idea of this is to go to your domain and perform password spray without fear. I mean, the idea of this webinar is go running into your environment and do this for your security. So basically I'm begging you to do this. Then we are going to see well, taking a simple word list like Rocky, I'm going to show you what this word list, it is a notepad file, simple as that. And I just want you to know how much of success do you think you will have if you perform this type of attack on your environment, because they are performing it every day. So it is better if you do it by yourself. You will find very interesting things. You will find where you are vulnerable. You will find a lot of statistics and very interesting things that you will be able to harden. You will be able to change password policy. You will be able to change many things and prepare for the real attack, because when you face a real password spraying attack, you will suffer the consequences, because I mean you already did it in an ethical manner way, right? So that's the main idea. Well, I just want you to know this is the tip of the iceberg and this attack is performed every day, everywhere. For the password statistic, let me show you. Well, we said we had domain controller on the left and all the web access on the right. So what I'm going to do now is taking I'm going to take, this is a password spray with PowerShell script. So the scripts are publicly available. You can download from GitHub. And what I do here is, let me show you. I have here, tell me let's harvest some of our users. So the domain is a datum. This is the Exchange server. I have a user list.txt. In this user list, I put all the sub account names that I were able to recover from the FOCA, from the file metadata. And if you find any user that is there is a match on the user, if the user exists on the other side, on the Exchange server, on the Active Directory, write to this file, right? So basically that is what it is doing right now. And based on the time response, it will tell you this account exists. This is false positive. This account does not exist. And you can build a real world list of some account names. Let's give it a couple of seconds and it will finish. Let me open another window and I will show you another thing more while the other one is running. So in the next stage, I was able to get one password from one user. So what I'm going to do next is import the module, and I will test one password against all users. We were blocked by the antivirus. Let me give me a couple of minutes. I am facing an issue with the antivirus. The antivirus is supposed, I tested today and it was working. Okay, the antivirus, they deleted the file. So, but this started to run, and you can see here, it found potentially valid users. So it is testing every single user from the notepad of some account names that FOCA showed and that FOCA extracted from the metadata file, right? So at the end, it was able to recognize or find 300 valid usernames, some account names, and it is stored on the AWA on this file, AWA valid users.txt, right? Let me see if this works. And what I'm doing right now is telling the script, okay, use this password, Bronte01, and this is the user list. So run, test this password just one single time per user. So it will go from the user number 1 and test this password until it reaches the end, almost 400 users. And it will go back to the beginning. And if you do a loop with this, with a password file, right, it will go to the beginning and jump to the second password. It will test the 400 users, and then it will jump into the third password in an automatic way. And basically, you leave it running a couple of hours, and it will you will be able to match the users and the passwords. And the most important thing, you won't lock users because you are testing just once against each user. And when you go back to the entire loop, let's say, for example, if you have 5,000 users, you test the first password on the list, right? And when you reach the end, maybe 10 or 30 minutes already passed. So let's say you blocked one user. Okay, what does the password policy say in Active Directory? 5 minutes and block because it is per default. Okay, no worry. Go ahead and keep searching for passwords. So it was able to test this password, and it found that this 1, 2, 3, 4 users share the same password. Okay, so with that password, let me copy it. Yeah, Matthias, and the password is Bronte01. And you see, we are able to log in. So what's the next step for the attackers? It is to search for more services published to the internet. Or remember, all those services are attached to the Active Directory, so they already have credentials. If this person, Leonardo, is a domain admin, trust me, I found that in several domains, is a domain admin and have a mailbox. I mean, no, the users, the domain admins should not have mailbox. And you go into the VPN, and you go to the VPN with a permission as a domain admin. So, and then in the rest of the script, let's say once I get a valid user, a valid user and valid password, I will throw this script, and I will say, okay, give me the entire global address list. Okay, I have this because I have a valid password now. And if I have all this, it is because I have the some account names and the mails, same information. So, and then this is the password spread below. It is a loop for each loop, for each password in this list. It is a notepad with passwords, and test the same password on all the users. Sooner or later, you will find all the passwords. So, Okay, we were at this stage. So by doing this, you will be able to find lots of things go running into your environment and perform it for your sake. From this data, once you go to the, let me show you another file here. This is the password statistics. I will open these two files. Another thing you have to do in your environment is the Active Directory reversing. You need to go into your domain controller and grab all the NTLM hashes and do the magic to see the reports on this interesting data you will find from there. For the first example, I used a rocky.txt file, which is most used during the pen testing. It's a word list that it's a 133 megs file, but it has a 40 million for password combination. And from this file, I was able to get this ID reversing, interesting data. Okay, this is a real domain. I changed the usernames. It was during pen testing, so I changed the usernames for security, but I maintained the password. So the password are real. So this domain had more than 8,000 users. I was able to crack 4,000 users. I was able to get the password of 4,000 users. And then what I did to sum all the passwords length, and I got that 35,000 total characters, and that means that I have an average password length of 8 characters per user, right? So a couple of interesting things here. This highlighted, it is because you have the same password repeating once again and again in your environment. So I have here, it is a count of 89. It please stop with that. Another interesting thing here is that we have the user which has the longest password in the domain is 17 characters, and the rest you see the amount of characters here. I mean, most of the users have very simple passwords, so easy to guess. And if you use, let's go back to the rocky.txt file. If you use this file and perform a password spraying attack on this environment, how much success do you think you will have? Pretty much. The success rate is very high, trust me. So another interesting thing here is the most repeated password. For example, for the password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it is repeated 167 times on the domain. So you have 167 users that has this password, which is 7 characters length. And then for the second one, the most used is a super secret. It is being used for 104 users. So the most password users used in your domain are this one here. If you apply a password policy, password spray attack on the OWA, you will have very much of a success. Another file is this one. Okay, what I did here is to download. There is a website which is haveibeenpwned.com. You can download these torrent files from there. I downloaded this one, which is 8 gigs. Once you decompress it, you have a 21 gigs file. It contains several hashes, millions and millions of hashes, NTLM hashes of passwords from the users that were from different breaches around the world. So what I do is compare my domain user hashing and TLM hashing against that file with a PowerShell script in an automatic way, and then you will get this report. This report will show you, for example, these ones highlighted here, that this user, the real names are fake. I changed the real username. It will show you that the frequency of using this password around the world in different breaches is 24 million. It means that 24 million users around the world have the same password, and the user in your domain has it too, right? Let's go with the other ones. For the Pokemon password, this one is interesting. A from 1 to 6, and then A from 1 to 6, uppercase and lowercase. It means that you have one user in your domain that is using this password, and more than 300,000 users around the world have the same password. So basically, you will find a lot of interesting things in here, and if you perform this type of reversing on your environment, right? So we go back to the VPN to talk about the OWA and to talk about the VPN. They have in common the Active Directory, so you perform a password spray attack, and now you are able to log into the VPN and get into the company. Basically that. Some tips for this is attack your own infrastructure, get visibility about what is happening on the stage or behind the stage. Do your ID reverse, please do it. Do your brute force, pick up a word list and do a password spraying in your OWA. Do log collection, it will give you visibility again. What I have here is on the virtual machine, I have a log collection, and you can see here the event ID when the user types a wrong mail, a wrong password. I'm sorry, it will event 4625 event, and when it happens through the Exchange server, I got all of those logs and set to Elasticsearch, and the Elasticsearch tells me that in the last 8 hours you had this type of attack. So this is one way for you to identify that you are facing a password spraying attack or a brute force attack, right? Otherwise, you won't be able to see it. From the last 8, I've been playing with this this last week. Let's say for the last 24 hours, and for the last month, for the last week. For the last 8 hours. And then I have here, let me show you. Every time the password is spraying, we threw the code on PowerShell. Every time the password spray acted on the Exchange server, it sent the information to the Elasticsearch. So that's the reason I am able to see the information right now. If I don't have this information, the attack is performed, and you will never know, right? So for today, it's a little slow. For today, it performed. You will see here I have 7,000 hits with different account names. So you have here the account names in which the logon failed because a bad password was used on this account, right? And this is the account locking of the Active Directory in the last 30 days. If you see, I have only 14 hits in the last 30 days. So I logged just a couple of users. So the rate success is very, very high. And I'm using actually Elasticsearch, which is a very, very good, but of course there are other products which are very, really, really good, like Wazoo, Splunk, Grafana, RedLK, Helk, and then you have the hardening or the monitoring. What to do first? If you do the monitoring, the time you spend on setting up the log collector, the event viewer, and the Elasticsearch, and all that stuff that to find out that several things that you have been performed, that you are being attacked, that time used, it doesn't make sense. So if you never perform hardening or pen testing on your environment, go first for the hardening, because the time you were going to spend on the monitoring, please spend it on hardening, or hire an ethical hacker to do the job, do the hardening, and then go for the monitoring. Then use that time to set up Elasticsearch, set up the log monitor, the Sysmon, the event log collector, and perform pen testing and security assessment for yourself. I mean, what I like you to see on this last is a real-time attack. This is from a real domain. I hid the domain name for security, and I was monitoring this domain with Elasticsearch, and I see here, you can see that in the last 50 minutes, I had 191 hits. So that is someone from the outside trying to guess users or passwords. I have 800 hits in the last hour. These are the names used from the outside, trying to connect to the OWA, to the Exchange server. And for the day, I have more than 10,000 hits. For the week, I have 100,000. For the month, I have more than almost 2 million hits. And for the year, I have 4 million hits. So that's a real-time attack. But this is because we have monitoring and logging in place. If we don't have logging and monitoring in place, we don't know what's happening on the behind the stage, and eventually you will get hacked sooner or later.
Thank you, Leo. Thank you, everyone, for joining us on this webinar. If you have any questions, you can reach us by email or social media, and we can answer questions and also have a phone call to engage Leonardo as an ethical hacker for your organization.
Okay, thank you very much. Have a nice day. I hope you enjoy the webinar.
Thank you, Leo.